So let's have a seat, kind of get settled in. You may already be settled into your comfortable seat, so I'll join you. And we want to find a nice, straight aligned spine. And just take a deep inhale through the nose and a big exhale through the mouth. Just take this opportunity to settle into your skin and really feel what you're feeling at the moment, and acknowledge not only the parts that really kind of are asking for you to maybe give them a little attention and practice today, but also acknowledge the parts that are really doing phenomenally well. You know, for every body part that we have that might feel a little stiff or even a little achy, we've got multitudes more that are doing a fantastic job. And so we want to make sure and really honor the ones that are doing well. Make sure they get a little bit of attention too. So once you've had the opportunity to kind of feel into your body, let's start to deepen the breath. Some nice slow Ujjayi breathing if you can, that aspirated, slightly closed throat. And as you continue your Ujjayi breathing, check in with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your energy. How connected do you feel to yourself and everything around you? And then let's bring our palms together and set our personal intentions for practice today. Take a deeper inhale when you're ready. And exhale through the mouth again. And then from here on out, we'll be doing nose breathing. So I'd like you to go ahead and just roll your shoulders back a couple of times. And then transition onto your hands and knees. And we'll just start to loosen up the spine a little bit. It's just arching and rounding. Feel free to throw in that little bit of lateral movement, wagging the tail, circling the hips, whatever feels good. And then on your next exhale, let's go ahead and take child's pose. From your child's pose, scoot forward into Sphinx, and let's lengthen out the spine. You guys know you should have your thighs internally rotated, which is to say your big toes are touching and your heels are dropping open. We'll take one more breath here, just getting some spinal length. And then pressing up and back into downward facing dog. So I want you to just take a moment and really root down through your hands as well as your feet. As much as you're able, flatten out your palms, kind of spread the fingers, really connect as much of your hand to your mat as you can. And then press the hips up and back and connect the feet down to your mat as much as you can. Even if the heels don't touch, don't worry about it. The rest of the feet are really connecting. And then let's walk the feet forward. Keep the knees bent and just hang in ragdoll. Relax your neck. You can either let your arms dangle or you can grab your elbows. One more spine lengthening breath here. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, stretch up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. We're just going to take a moment and get really rooted in our Tadasana. So I want you to spread your toes and really connect your feet down again. I want you to have that sense of connection with the earth, that you feel real solid, that it's got you. So just aligning your spine for a moment, really feeling all of that. And then let's bring the palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach your arms up, stretch up. If it feels okay with your neck, look up. Let's take 2 breaths here. And on your next exhale, fold forward, fingertips all the way to the mat. Look up and lengthen. And then back down. Step back with your left foot. Just hold your lunge for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to keep this left hand really connected. Go ahead and make it feel like it felt in that downward facing dog. You've got like lots of surface area on that left hand. And then just rotate your right hand up towards the ceiling. And I want you to kind of feel into your left shoulder and push the floor away so that you have a lot of strength and stability in your left shoulder. Feel that for a moment. Spine is nice and long and straight. Excellent. Bring the right hand down and drop the left knee down. Let's go ahead and fully extend the right leg. Flex the ankle and toes. Pull the chest forward. Just say hello to your right hamstring today. Bend your right knee. Bring the arms up and overhead. Let's tilt our pelvis back, lift the chest. Let the hips move forward until we feel that stretch on the front of the left hip. If it feels okay in your body, I'd like you to bring your palms together and move into a prayer twist to your right. Now, particularly here, not hanging out in this left shoulder, but pushing the palms together, pushing with the back of that left arm to lift up and away from the thigh to look over your right shoulder. We're trying to get those prayer hands somewhere near the center of the chest. But again, we want to feel strength and stability in that left shoulder joint. So don't just hang out on the connective tissue. Engage those muscles around your left shoulder for stability. And then from here, hands to the mat. Go ahead and take your right knee back to meet your left knee. And then I'm going to ask you to do a plank, but we're going to do it from our forearms so that anybody that has wrist issues can do this. Now, if you have back issues or your core is not particularly strong, you can keep your knees down, come onto your forearms, and simply take your body in a straight line. If you have a little bit more strength, the toes turn under and the knees are off the ground. We're going to take 3 breaths here if you can. I want you to feel your body in a straight line, shoulders, hips, heels. Your entire core is engaged. Excellent. You can drop your knees back down and press into a downward facing dog. Connect the hands, connect the feet, press those hips back. And then take a big step forward with your left foot. Hold your lunge for a moment. Right hand now does just like it did in downward facing dog. You want to spread your fingers and plant the hand, and we'll take the left hand up towards the ceiling. Again, feeling yourself not sinking into that right shoulder, but pushing the floor away so that you feel all the muscles around that right shoulder engaging and creating lots of stability. Let's bring the left hand down. Go ahead and drop your right knee down and extend your left leg. Flex the ankle and toes, pull your chest forward. And then bend your left knee. Bring the arms up and overhead. Pelvis tilts back and we let the hips move forward. Palms come together in front of the heart. Now we're going to do that little prayer twist to the left. Push into the palms. Press the back of that right elbow against your left thigh so that you can lift the torso and look over your left shoulder and feel a lot of stability in the right shoulder. Lots of strength. Hands are going to come down and we're going to step forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So we're just going to do a nice deep side bend. We're going to be working with our obliques today. That's the size of your waist. We'll be doing quite a few modifications for side plank and then maybe a full side plank, but lots of ways to modify it. So don't panic. And then we're also going to be doing some twisting. And so all of that really engages the sides of our torso and the whole core. So that's what our emphasis is today. You're going to interlace your fingers, but extend the index fingers up. This is Jupiter Mudra. I'd like you to stick your arms straight up in the air and then just be mindful of not arching back. Go ahead and get your torso nice and straight, really vertical. And then on your next exhale, just a nice lateral lean to the right. So what I mean by that is when you lean, don't throw your hips forward, don't stick your buns out, and don't do what my torso likes to do, which is rotate. You want to pretend that you've got both shoulder blades and both buns against a wall, and you're just doing a true side bend. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Really stretch out the left side of your waist. And then inhale back up. And as you exhale, kind of reset and lean to your left. Again, you want to try and make this a truly lateral movement. So you should actually feel this whole right side of the torso stretching, but we're working on opening up through the sides of the waist. Inhale, come back up. As you exhale, release your hands and fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. So the first modification we're going to do is from hands and knees. And this is the one that I normally do with you guys in class, so this is familiar. Your right foot will kick out to the right so that you have a bit of a tripod. And your left leg is going to extend, and the whole sole of the left foot is flat, and the left hand reaches for the ceiling. Take a couple of breaths here. Now to make this a little bit more challenging, and only if you want to, you would move your right knee closer to your left foot. So there's left weight on your right leg now, but it's still there. And you might even consider bringing your left knee to meet your right knee and keep the hips up. Take one more breath. Your left hand and both knees come back onto the ground. Come back to an all fours alignment with your knees under your hips and your hands under your shoulders. Move just the left foot out to the left. So you've got that tripod. Your right leg extends. The right foot is flat. And you reach your right hand for the ceiling. And of course, the work is coming here because we are still trying to lift this right side of the waist. Now, if this feels okay, and by the way, you never have to do any of the next steps in any of these poses. If you're happy here, stay here. If you want a little more challenge, move the left knee closer to your right foot. So now it's not directly underneath your hip. And if you feel like you'd like to, you can just kind of stack your right knee on top of your left. So technically my right knee's not even on the ground right now. Take one more breath. Good. Bring it all back down to hands and knees. Bring your knees back underneath your hips. Wag your tail if you need to. And take a child's pose. Those of you that prefer to take a full-on vinyasa, at this point you can take off and do that. Forehead down, hands or palms up if you can. Take a couple breaths. And then we'll scoot into Sphinx. You're also welcome to do Cobra if you prefer. And then downward facing dog. Stretch it back, lengthen. Good. Now from here, we're still going to do kind of that same kickstand, and it'll be the bottom leg that's like your kickstand. And so I'm going to ask you to bring your left leg underneath you with the leg straight and the foot flexed to kind of slide that leg up. Just like you did in that modified side plank a moment ago, let your right foot spin flat so that you're connected to the ground, and take your right hand to the ceiling. Now it's really important as you're doing this, push the floor away with your left hand. Find that stability in your left shoulder. Good. Just bring it back down, downward facing dog. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Slide your right leg underneath you, flex your foot, bring it forward a little bit, let your left foot spin flat, and take your left hand to the ceiling. Push the floor away with that right hand so that your right shoulder is really stable. And then come on back down, knees to the ground, child's pose. Good. Come on up from that. And so earlier I had you do a plank. So for those of you with wrist issues that might not be loving this, I've got you covered. We did a forearm plank earlier. We're going to transition that into a side plank. So what I'd like for you to do is go ahead and just come into a traditional forearm plank, just like I had you do earlier, bodies in a straight line. While you're here, see what it feels like to roll. You still have both elbows or forearms down. Roll onto the outside edge of your left foot with both feet flexed. Come back to center. And then just roll your feet to the right. You're on the outside edge of your right foot. Nothing else should be touching the ground. Come back to center and drop your knees. That's going to give you a good indication of whether side plank from your forearm is going to be accessible at that level. So what if that felt like it wasn't quite going to fly? Well, you can do the same thing that we did earlier with the knees. So take your knees farther back, get your body in a straight line, move your left forearm parallel to the front part of your mat, and just take your right hand to the ceiling. Knees are bent. So I'm on my left knee, my left forearm, and I'm using these oblique muscles to hold my hips up. Let's just roll back onto the knees and the forearms. Right forearm comes across the front of the mat, and the left hand reaches for the ceiling. Knees are bent. My waist is lifting up towards the ceiling. I'm pushing with my right forearm, so my right shoulder is stable. And I'm going to come back down and take a child's pose. One more time. come into a downward facing dog. And then from your down dog, for just a moment, shift into plank. Make sure you're where you need to be. Don't change where the hands and feet are. Push your tailbone back again. This is a different variation. Now your bottom leg is balancing. And so this is from the hands, by the way. So if your wrists don't like this, you can skip this or do one of the other variations. I'd like you to step your right foot only halfway up. So between right hand and left foot. Then I'd like you to spin onto the outside edge of your left foot with your foot flexed and your legs straight. Push into the floor with your left hand to stabilize your left shoulder and take your right hand to the ceiling. Let's see what you think about this variation. It lets you feel what that bottom leg would feel like in a full side plank. Let's go ahead and bring right hand down, left knee down, right knee down. Wag your tail. Downward facing dog. Shift into plank. Go back into your downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward, but only halfway up the mat. Spin onto the outside edge of your right foot with that foot flexed. So nothing except the outer edge of your right foot is hitting the floor. Push the floor away with your right hand. Left hand reaches for the ceiling. From here, come back down onto your hands and knees. Wag your tail a moment. Take a child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. And we'll go ahead and scoot forward into Sphinx or Cobra. Of course, you guys are welcome to do full vinyasas anytime you would like. And then we're going to take downward facing dog. And then I'm going to give your upper body a little bit of a break. So from here, just go ahead and walk your feet forward. Standing forward bend. Take a big inhale. Reach the arms up. Exhale, palms together. Release your arms down. Roll your shoulders back. In fact, if you need to do some wrist circles, go for it. And then turn sideways on your mat and take a nice wide step out. This is how I get you to look forward to doing a warrior two, right? Make you do all that side plank stuff first. So we're gonna rotate the left foot in and the right foot out. Bend the right knee, come into our warrior two. Just taking a moment to look out over right middle finger. I hope you guys can't hear the angry cat outside my door. Left hand on your left thigh. Reach the right arm up and over. Reverse your warrior. Notice in this pose, you're stretching out the right side of your waist. It got a lot of work already, right? So you get to stretch it out here. And then come on back up. Straighten your right leg. Lengthen your torso out to the right. Really paying attention to keeping that length on the right side of the spine. Left hand towards the ceiling, find triangle pose. And then from here, come back up. Bend your right knee again. And then we're gonna lift off for a half moon. I'm gonna scooch back just a little bit. So all I want you to do is just take your right hand down to the mat. If you can, left leg up towards the ceiling. Left hand towards the ceiling, left leg parallel to the floor. If you can get your left leg towards the ceiling, that's awesome. Send me a photograph and then come back up. Good. Nice wide stance. Right foot rotates in, left foot rotates out. Bend your left knee. Warrior two. And then right hand on the right thigh. Reach the left arm up and over. Let's stretch out the left side of the waist. Good. Come back up. Lengthen
through the spine as your left leg straightens so that you can find your triangle pose on this side. Lots of length, both sides of the spine. So triangle is a really nice way to make sure that we're maintaining equal length in the obliques. Good. Coming back up, bend your left knee, and from here we'll lift off, left hand to the ground, right hand towards the ceiling, right leg parallel to the floor. And then come back up, roll your shoulders back. Awesome. Bring the feet together at the front of the mat. Bring the palms together. Take a big inhale, reach up. And then as you exhale, fold forward, fingertips down. Inhale, look up and lengthen. And then exhale back down. And let's just step back onto the hands and knees for a moment. So I'm gonna offer you the option of doing a full side plank, Vasisthasana. So Vasishtha was one of the Indian sages. So this is named after a wise person. And if you choose to do it, you can do it from your forearm if you have wrist issues, or you can do it from your hand if you're feeling extra strong today and your shoulders and your wrists are okay. But the idea is this: in yoga, we don't separate the feet. We keep them really stacked. And so the only way that you're going to balance in it is if your body is in a perfectly straight line. So if neither of these is an option for you, I would love for you to choose one of the other side plank modifications that we've already done and do that. Having said that, I'm going to talk you through the forearm one first, and then from the hand, if you're extra strong today, do all of these. And if you know you're just going to do one, then choose it. So if you're going on your forearms, the first thing we want to do is come into a forearm plank and make sure that we would be in a straight line. Then we make the left forearm parallel to the front side of the mat. And then we stack our feet. The feet are flexed, the legs are straight. The right foot is on top of the left, and the right hand reaches for the ceiling. Now we're pushing into the floor to keep our left shoulder stable. One more breath if you're with me here. Right hand comes back down. Feel free to drop your knees if you need to. Make sure that body parts are in the right spot. I always recommend for a forearm plank to come into a traditional plank first, and then adjust right forearm across the front of the mat. Roll onto the outside edge of your right foot. Your left foot is stacked on top. Your legs are straight. And your left hand is reaching for the ceiling. Your left hip is reaching up too. If you're with me, come on down and take a break. So if that is it for you, you get to rest in child's pose. And for those of you who feel like you want to give it a shot and do the full-on Vasisthasana side plank, we'll do it from a traditional plank. Hands are shoulder width. You want the shoulders really engaged. You're going to step your feet back to a nice straight line. Simply roll onto the outside edge of your left foot. Let your right foot stack on top of the left foot. Take the right hand towards the ceiling. If you can, you gaze at your right thumb. And you reach that right hip up, 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 and you breathe. You must breathe. And then you bring your right hand back down and you just roll to the outside edge of the right foot. Remember to push the floor away so that your right shoulder is stable. Left hand reaches up. You look at the thumb if you can. You lift that left hip. You breathe. And then you bring it all back down. Everyone go into a nice traditional child's pose and breathe.
And then from here, we're gonna stay in child's pose, but we're gonna extend the arms out in front. So this is Utthita Balasana, extended child's pose. And I want you to just keep your navel between your knees. It's a small movement with the hands to just walk them a little bit to the right. And then you're gonna push that left rib cage out to the left. And take a couple of deep breaths. You should feel the left side of your torso stretch. And then just walk your hands a little bit over to the left. It's not a big movement. Push that right rib cage out and take a couple of breaths here, feeling the right side of the torso stretch. Come back to the center. Crawl forward onto your forearms. This time it's for Sphinx. No more side planking. You're done with that. Pull your chest forward. Stretch. Good. And then one last downward facing dog. Really, really, really stretch your tailbone back. Lengthen. And then drop to your knees. And we're just gonna roll over onto our left side and still be on the left hand. For those of you with wrist issues, if you need to put a forearm on a block, you'll need to have about this much rise in your torso though to get this pose to work. So this is a pose that's been attributed to Anna Forrest that she likes to call lounge lizard. It's a really nice stretch for the side of the torso if you do it right. So the idea is we're just going to recline on our left hip. Doesn't really matter if your legs are straight or bent. Your left arm needs to be really straight. Now, all day so far, I've been telling you to push into the floor to stabilize that shoulder. I want you to do the opposite. Don't push into it. Allow yourself to sink into it. So actually, your left shoulder and your left ear are probably touching. And then let your left rib cage relax towards your left upper arm. If you do that, you should feel a crazy good stretch in the left side of your waist. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll just do the other side. So all you're gonna do is roll over onto your right side. Right arm is straight. So remember, it's the opposite. If it helps you to do the opposite, push away from the floor with your right hand, keep the right arm straight, and then do the opposite. Allow your whole torso, your neck, your head, everything to sink into the right shoulder. Right side of the waist moves towards the right arm. You should feel a big stretch in the right side of your torso. Breathe. And then from here, you can just swivel around into a seated position, an easy cross-legged position, actually. And I'll mirror you for this. We're going to keep stretching out the sides and then doing a little more twisting. So as I said, all the hard stuff's done. So I'll mirror you today. I know it's a miracle. Put your right hand on the ground, slide it out to the right, keep your left hip really planted. And then reach a very straight left arm up and overhead. Please don't bend that elbow. It's so important to keep that left arm super straight. Reach it overhead while you push the left hip into the ground. Your right elbow, that's the hand that's on the ground. That one can bend to deepen your stretch. But you want to keep that left hip really glued to the ground, left arm reaching, and then breathe deep. Excellent. Come on up and we'll switch. Left hand on the ground, slide those fingertips out, keep your right hip really planted, and then reach the right arm super straight, up and overhead. Keep reaching through a very straight right arm while you push your right hip into the mat.
Then if you want more, you bend your left elbow, the one that's on the ground. Good. Come all the way back up. Roll your shoulders back. And just in case you did try all those different variations, interlace your fingers in front of you and just kind of roll your wrists. Just get that little rolling. And roll them the other way. And then unlace the fingers, make circles, and then circle the other way. And then make a very tight fist with each hand, and then spread your fingers really wide. Good. Roll the shoulders back. And just like that, you get to roll onto your back and hug your knees into your chest. Side to side rock. So we start down here with just a nice gentle twist to kind of set the mood. You're gonna let both knees drop to the right with your left arm opened out to the left. Head turning to the left if that feels okay. And I want you to feel the left side of your torso stretching. Left side of the waist is expanding with every inhale. On your next inhale, bring the knees back up. And as you exhale, just drop them over to the left. Let your right arm open out to the right. Head turns to the right. And we're feeling length in the spine. And then we're also feeling how our breath can really just kind of move down into the right side of the waist if we let it. On your next inhale, bring your legs back up. And as you exhale, just hug the knees in, rock side to side. So it just depends upon your body and your back and how everything feels. If you can do plow pose or even a mild modification of it with the legs up and overhead, I'll have you do that because we'll play a little bit with doing it to the side. So Parsvahalasana, side plow, can be interesting with the obliques. But if you need to honor your back, put your feet on the ground and just do bridge pose or even do supported bridge with a block if you need to. If you can get your hips into your hands, that would be my preference for you. You go ahead and hike the hips up. Legs should be straight, and as much as you can, you let them start to come over your head. It's okay if they don't touch the floor. Now, being mindful to keep your head stationary. If you feel like you can, you're going to take a big step to the right with both legs. So this is Parsvahalasana, side plow. If you feel like you can, bend your knees, point your toes towards the ceiling, and see if you can get your left knee to touch your right ear. Extend the legs back out. Doesn't matter if they touch the floor or not, but walk them over to the left. Same thing, if you feel like you can, only if you feel like you can, bend the knees, point your toes to the ceiling, right knee towards left ear, legs extend back up and overhead. Take one more breath. And then on your next exhale, you're gonna slowly roll down, hug your knees in, and rock side to side. Now we'll go into our final twist. If twisting is challenging for you, you can do the one we did earlier with both knees bent. Otherwise, I'd like for you to keep your right knee hugged into your chest. Extend your left leg all the way out of the ground. Just hold your right knee for a moment. So the deeper twist here, if you can do it, is to take the toes of the right foot and actually hook them on your left leg, either behind it or inside of it. Let your right arm open out to the right and actually use your left hand on your right thigh to pull yourself over into the twist. So the reason it's nice to do this is that you can feel lots of length and opening from the front of your right shoulder all the way down to your right hip. And I'd like you to start paying attention to your breathing here so that when you breathe in deeper and longer than you normally would, and imagine that the breath is moving to inflate the right side of your chest, the right side of your rib cage, the right side of your waist, and maybe you can even get it to move into the right hip. Slow, deep breaths. The spine is long. You're breathing deeply in one long inhale into the shoulder, the rib cage, the waist, and the hip. Couple more breaths. So your oblique muscles, the ones that were helping hold your hips off the ground in all those side plank variations, are also the ones that allow you and help you to twist. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, hug your right knee into your chest. And then go ahead and bring that left knee up to meet the right knee. Sneak in a little side to side rock if you want one. And then extend your right leg out and hug the left knee in. Nice deep squeeze. We just hold it for a moment. And then the deeper variation of the twist, and please modify if you need to, is to actually hook the toes of your left foot inside or behind your right leg. Use your right hand outside that left thigh to pull yourself over into your twist as your left arm opens up to the left. And if you can, your head turns to the left. And then again, once we feel the length in the spine and that rotation, we start to use our breath. We breathe in so deep that we can feel tissue change in the left front shoulder and left side of the chest, the left side of the rib cage, the left side of the waist, maybe even into that left hip. And in order to get the breath to move that far down, you've got to breathe in past the point that you would normally stop. On your next inhale, come on up. Hug your left knee in. Bring your right knee up to meet it. You can rock side to side. And then we're going to extend the legs straight out onto the mat. Arms are going to come straight overhead. So I want you to take a tidy step with both legs to the right. You're going to hook your right ankle on top of the left, and it's kind of like at the right corner of the mat. And then you're going to grab your left wrist with your right hand and move that a little bit to the right and poke your left rib cage out. Gently pull on your left wrist, and you should start to feel a stretch on the whole left side of your torso. Breathe in nice and slow so you feel everything open, and then breathe out in such a way you get to maintain that space.
This is a more modern stretch, and it was given the modern name Banana Asana. In other words, banana pose. So you're making a banana shape with your body to stretch out your left side and then release. Now we're gonna walk both feet over to the left a little bit. So kind of by that left bottom corner of your mat, your left foot is gonna hook on top of your right foot now. Your left hand is gonna grab your right wrist and you're gonna move your arms a little to the left. You still want both shoulder blades flat. Pull on your right wrist, kind of poke your right rib cage out, find that stretch and breathe. So just being a nice little banana on your mat, getting the right side to stretch out with each inhale. And then release that, bend your knees, hug them in for one final side to side rock. And then go ahead and grab the outside edges of your feet and happy baby. So interestingly enough, while you've been busy working that core and working and opening your obliques, your hips have actually been engaged too. Your hips are active to help hold you inside plank and plank. And so you might actually feel some loosening and release through the hips while you're happy babying. So just give yourself a couple more breaths to explore. And then when you're ready, put your feet flat on the mat with your ankles and knees together. As you exhale, let both knees drop to one side. Inhale and bring them back up. And as you exhale, drop them both to the opposite side. And inhale and bring them back up. And just keep gently rolling your hips, getting this final little twist in time to your own breathing. When you feel like you're even or ready, go ahead and allow the knees to drop in opposite directions with the soles of the feet touching. We'll do a final little spinal lengthener and then you get Shavasana. So on your next inhale, tilt your pelvis back to press your low back into the mat. Hold that while you breathe. And then on your next exhale, release that. Begin to extend your legs. Find the best position for them. They can be together or apart. Make sure your buns are relaxed. Your spine is long. Your shoulders have moved away from the ears. Your neck feels long. Your jaw is soft. Your face is soft. That includes your eyes and your forehead. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale through the mouth. Just let your body start to soften and settle down towards the floor. Your body is really good at Shavasana. It's had lots of practice. So just let it do what it does. Let it relax. Let it soften and align. And as all of that comes into play, bring your awareness to your navel, your belly button. I'd like you to think about what it looks like when you first light a candle and how it takes a little while for the wax to melt around the bottom of the wick, but the longer the candle burns, the larger and wider that pool of liquid wax, the fluid is.
I want you to imagine your core softening in the same way from the center out. If your body were a candle, the wick would be right where your navel is. And so every time you breathe, that little circle of molten wax, that little circle of liquid, fluid, yumminess and warmth expands outward. So however it works best for you to feel that or envision that, with every breath, you're melting from your navel outward. Feel that warmth. Feel that fluid sensation right at the core. So much of our time, we have our cores tight. When we're sitting and standing, this part of our anatomy is engaged. It's what keeps us upright. And we also hold tension there because we're told we should always suck our stomach in or try and have a flat stomach or whatever the case may be. This is a really beautiful opportunity to allow yourself to truly relax at your center, to truly soften. And it can be symbolic of allowing ourselves to soften maybe our ideas and our expectations and maybe even our beliefs, to soften towards ourselves, to soften towards others, which means not judging or being negative towards others. What if we softened enough to just know that everyone was doing their best? And even if their best wasn't the same as what our best would be, it's their best. Maybe we could just soften and let people do what they do and be who they are. So this can be a really symbolic softening around some of our core ideas that maybe could use a little liquefying. Start to feel that warmth and softness and liquidity move throughout the rest of your body so that everything is warm and fluid. And then start to move your fingers and toes a little bit. Start to deepen your breath a little bit. When you're ready, take a deeper inhale. Spread your fingers and toes. Exhale through the mouth as you relax them. Deeper breath in and just stretch. And relax as you exhale. Bend your knees, allowing the feet to be flat or hugging the knees in, whichever is more comfortable for you. And then roll to your right side. Press yourself up into sitting. As you come to your seated position, I'd like you to be very cautious of your spinal alignment and your core again, because our breath work today, we're going to do Kapalabhati, that's that forceful pumping of the abdomen to make the breath move. And in order for this to work, you've got to have length on the front side of your abdomen. So if you have tight hips and your cross-legged position has knees up and a rounded back, you cannot do Kapalabhati. So I'm giving you this opportunity to get in a chair if you need to, or to extend your legs or sit on a bolster, or just make sure that you have length in your abdomen. So just a reminder, we push the air out by really strongly pulling our navel in. And then when we relax those abdominal muscles, the air just automatically comes in. It's a very passive inhale. We'll just do one round. Go as fast or as slow as you need to. I know that most of you guys have done this with me before, so just do your best with it. It's really nice for the abdomen. So nice straight spine, elongated front part of the torso. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale completely through your nose. Remember, this whole breath is a nose breath. Take one more deep breath in. And then you're going to breathe half of the air in your lungs out and begin. Take a big inhale. Raise the arms up and overhead. Spread your fingers. Exhale. Float the arms down. Just slowly bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment, first of all, in gratitude for your body that got you through today's practice, for your body that gets you through every single day. It really is pretty amazing. And then gratitude for your breath that animates your body and also keeps you anchored to the present moment. Gratitude for your mind, your heart, and that really special spark that makes you you. Take one more huge inhale through the nose. Big sigh. We bring our palms to our foreheads just as a reminder to be present. We bring our palms to our lips as a reminder to speak our truth. And we bring our palms together in front of our hearts as a reminder to keep our hearts open, to always practice kindness and compassion and love. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope this is the beginning of a great week for everyone. Namaste.